Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we'll be doing another premiere draft of Murders at Karlov Manor. Without further ado, let's pick one, pack one. This mythic rare Alquist Proft Master Sleuth is a great card for a blue-white detectives deck. A 3-mana 3/3 Vigilance that investigates when it hits the board is already just a great deal, and if you manage to sacrifice a clue and get that gigantic card draw going, then you're going to be miles ahead from your opponent. So incredible card and a great place to start, despite the fact that it immediately ties you into two colors. If blue and white is going to be open, we're going to have an incredible start to our deck. If it's not, then we'll have to pivot off of this and be a little sad, but still definitely worth the risk with the amount of power this card has. For pack 1, pick 2, we don't really have a follow-up for blue-white detectives. Blue-white is good enough at investigating that it is one of the two color pairs that could try to use Case of the Filched Falcon. So we could kind of take that, maybe cut a little bit of blue here, or Auspicious Arrival, cut a bit of white. But I think these are weak enough to take something that's just better off color, like a hard-hitting Question for really cheap removal, maybe Extract a Confession very similarly. So I think we'll take one of these two, even though they're never going to make the cut alongside Alquist Proft. Although this card's good enough to maybe try to splash it in if we go like blue-green or blue-black or something. I'll go for the hard-hitting Question here. I think green's just a little bit of a stronger color than black in this format. And since these cards are really comparable in power level, we'll take the one in the stronger color. Pick 3. We do have an Agency Outfitter, which is a fine card for blue-white detectives. It's okay to top your curve with this thing, and then run one copy of Thinking Cap, one copy of Magnifying Glass. But if you draw the Thinking Cap or the Magnifying Glass, especially the Magnifying Glass, without drawing the Outfitter, it's quite bad. I actually kind of prefer Projector Inspector, just consistently good at 3 mana. You don't have to run any fill in your deck to get it going. Just solidly starts digging through the pile. Yeah, I like this a lot. Pack is not that strong. We could get a leg up sticking to green here, but I think it's better to just take the Inspector, kind of comparably powerful to the green spell, and our blue-white detectives card's much better than our green removal spell. Pick 4, Granite Witness is quite solid for blue-white detectives. It is that very important card type, being a gargoyle detective, but a 3/2 flying vigilance is just good in general, constantly chipping away at your opponent evasively, so really nice card. The Museum Night Watch is pretty decent as well. Trade off and replace itself with a detective, pretty good stuff. Think I prefer Granite Witness to that by a little bit, but Night Watch is very, very reasonable. Pick number 5, here's another Granite Witness, just keep it rolling there, but Fuss and Bother is actually super, super nice and not very replaceable. It's a very flexible, very powerful card that either buffs your whole board with +1/+1, permanently with +1/+1 counters, or the 6 mana version, you get 3 Thopters and you Surveil 2. So if you top deck it when you're flooding out and you don't have many creatures on board, you can always cast Bother, but if you're like playing out a good aggressive start, then Fuss is really, really good. I think the flexibility of this card makes it more powerful than Granite Witness or Lost in the Maze, both of which are very reasonable options here too. But I'm going to take Fuss and Bother. Very good card. Pick 6, we can grab a Deduce here, make sure we've got some clue tokens sitting around to go with Alquist Proft. At the same time, blue-white is going to have enough random investigating to have decent card draw without dedicated card draw spells like Deduce, and Auspicious Arrival, the combat trick here, also gives us a clue token while being able to be used as a combat trick, so maybe Arrival is actually a little better than Deduce here for this deck, potentially. I think I will go for Auspicious Arrival. Although we might wheel one out of our pack 1, get one like pick 9. I still think I'd rather have like 2 or 3 Arrivals than 1 Arrival, 1 Deduce, weirdly enough. Okay, well, there's Deduces here if we really want them, but I actually am a big fan of Out Cold for blue-white detectives. It's a nice tempo aggro deck where you're curving out with a good cheap curve of creatures, and once your opponent resolves big creatures that can start blocking your stuff, you can really win the game by just stunning them down, getting some clues. And the really nice thing about Out Cold is it gets around ward, so you can stun even their disguised creatures that have that ward too. So I think Out Cold's a great way to keep breaking through for damage, and we're in an excellent position in this draft pod, seeing a pick 8 Granite Witness. Great spot to just stick to our blue-white with our pack 1, pick 1 Alquist. Be pretty happy with that. Dual Leech is the strongest card here, but that's not saying too much. Pick 10. Now there's pretty much nothing. Guess I'll take the Case. Maybe we'll get 2 Niv Mizzets or something insane. And we head to a 5-color strategy. It's quite unlikely, but who knows. Grab a Thinking Cap, pick 11. And we'll throw some nonsense into the sideboard as we move on to pack number 2. Persuasive Interrogators is actually pretty nice in a slower, grindier matchup. The 5/6 that investigates is just solid. So for pack 2, pick 1, we have 2 main options here. On the Job is good if we can get all of the white creatures that establish a wide board state. Cards like the Inside Source, that's a 1/1 plus a 2/2. Cards like the Dog Walker, that is a 3/1 and 2 1/1s. But currently we don't have any cards like that, so it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a particularly wide board. So I actually think Cold Case Cracker might just be better at face value, because you don't really need any synergy for this card to be pretty solid. 3/3 flyer gives you a clue when it dies, so I'll take the Cold Case Cracker over the On the Job. But it's somewhat close because of how powerful On the Job is when you are in the Super Go wide deck. Pack 2, pick 2 is a very easy Private Eye. 3 mana for a 3/3 that buffs all of your detectives with +1/+1. Very naturally, you're going to have almost all detectives in this color pair in the first place. And we're also going out of our way to find detectives already. Plus, when you draw your second card each turn, so by sacrificing a clue, you can give one of your detectives unblockability for the turn, which is also insane. Private Eye is a busted card that really pushes you into blue-white, so happy to see it when we're already there. Would really like to wheel this Market Watch Phantom. Honestly, even more than I'd like to wheel No More Lies. This is a solid counterspell, but good 2-mana creatures like Market Watch Phantom are kind of hard to come by in this set. There's plenty of good 3-mana stuff, as you can tell by the fact that our deck is almost entirely 3-mana creatures right now. These Granite Witnesses, because of their disguise ability, also more 3-mana creatures. We have 5 3-drops, so really looking for 2-mana stuff to do. Pick 3, the only 2-mana creature to play is Evidence Examiner, which would require some green in the deck. And splashing for a 2-drop means you're not going to be playing it on turn 2, so it doesn't really actually help us in being a 2-drop. It is a good card in general, maybe worth a splash, but I think I'm still just going to go Unauthorized Exit when we have 0 fixing right now. And we're unlikely to get too much more. Pick number 4, Reasonable Doubt is actually a reasonable 2-drop to play. Instead of dropping a creature, you just stop their play for the turn. I honestly think that's fine, probably a little better than Eliminate the Impossible, which is a fine little trick. Pick number 5, alright, well, Jaded Analyst has a very good creature type, being a detective. Other than that, it is quite a filler creature, but you need something to do at 2 mana, so we'll take the Analyst here. Pick number 6, another Unauthorized Exit seems fine, or we could take a Sanitation Automaton, again just to have a 2-mana creature. I think Unauthorized Exit is a good enough piece of interaction to take over the Automaton. As much as we'd like 2 drops, the Automaton is very, very, very filler. Pick number 7 now, No More Lies is definitely a little better than Reasonable Doubt in this deck. Should be consistently castable, so we'll take it. Relive the Past does basically nothing. Return an artifact, a land, and a non-aura enchantment from your grave to the battlefield as 5/5s. That just does not happen often, that you're going to have those in your grave. Pick 8. Technician's fine, even if you don't have the red. But I actually just prefer the Vigilante. I think it's a great card to top off your curve with. A 5-mana 4/4 that puts a counter onto any of your disguised cards, or just your 2-power creatures in general. Fine card. Pick 9, nothing much here. I'm going to take an incredibly filler 2-drop and hope to cut this Sanctuary Wall. There's a slight argument to be made for just holding down the fort with cheap defenders and then getting in with flying vigilant threats. I don't think it's a really good argument, but there is an argument there. Another Unauthorized Exit. I don't think we're going to have room for like 3 copies, but I do like the first couple. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. More than anything else here, we're looking for solid creatures, preferably at around the 2-mana slot. And our opening pack doesn't really give us anything on that front. Take a push. We can't cast Pull, but we can spend 2 mana to destroy a tapped creature, which is okay. Alternatively, we just take like a 5 mana 4/5, or just a Fairy Snoop here. It's a super expensive creature for us. We basically have to play it and then flip up the disguise cost. Same with Savior. It's quite expensive, quite a mana investment. Hide in Plain Sight's the best card in this pack by a massive amount, but I don't imagine we're splashing green. Still just take it because it's just so much better than everything else in there, and there's not much we're actually interested in. But I don't think we're going to get there. Pack 3, pick number 2, another Granite Witness looks pretty good. Also Forensic Gadgeteer. You do need a lot of artifact spells, because you need to get at least 1 clue token out of this for it to have felt like a rare. And I don't think we have enough. We've got 4 right now. We might get more, like this Granite Witness could come back, but I think it's unlikely enough to just take the Witness over the Gadgeteer. Just a better card by itself. Pack 3, pick 3. Alright, well, for 2 drops, we'll just cast some 2 mana counter spells, I guess. No 2 mana creatures, all counter spells, and we will just fling them at anything our opponent is playing, so that we have stuff to do early. I'll take it, no more lies. Pick number 4, Crime Stopper Sprite is a fine 3 mana creature, despite the fact that we have tons of 3 mana creatures. That's really the only issue here. We don't have enough enchantments for Case File Auditor. I actually don't think we have any. I guess we could play a Make Your Move because we're pretty low on hard removal. Our removal here is bounce spells and tap spells and counter spells. But bounce spell into then countering it is probably fine. Yeah, I'm still going to take Crime Stopper Sprite over Make Your Move. Pick 5, Cold Case Cracker is fine. Pick 6. Yeah, I mean, white was just not open at all here. Blue was looking super solidly open towards blue-white detectives, but the white, we've seen like no good white commons. I do like Hotshot Investigators a lot. 6 mana 4/4 bounces something when it hits the board. Pretty great. Sometimes you can even just bounce your own permanent for value, so you can redo its enter the battlefield effect, plus you get a clue token when you do that. Hold down the Alt key here, rare draft something for the collection. Case of the Gorgon's Kiss it is. Pick number 8, we do get 1 copy of On the Job, so I mean, we didn't see any white creatures, like Dogwalkers, Inside Sources, any of the really good stuff, Novice Inspectors, but the On the Jobs were around. Yeah, it's a little awkward all around. I don't think I play any of this. Maybe a Lumbering Laundry, but probably not. Maybe a Savior, probably not. And then a bunch of definitely nots, and I'm gonna have to run a little bit of mediocre filler in this deck to get there. Sadly. I'm gonna triple exit 3 counterspells at 2 mana. I guess fills out the curve, and then the curve looks like this, which is perfectly reasonable. It'll be kind of a weird deck, but I think it'll be a fine one. Now we just cut the Thinking Cap or the Due Diligence here. Pretty medium blue-white deck, but good enough to maybe get us a nice little 3/3 or 4/3. Don't think this is anywhere near like a 4-win run, or a 4-win, a 7-win run. But this looks fine. Yeah, we're just going to cut like an Equipment or an Aura here. Definitely a fine deck for 17 lands. We can crack some clues in the late game. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clue token makers. I guess it's not a ton, but still. This is not a 16 land aggro deck. We don't even have 2 mana creatures to get that aggressive. I think I'll just drop the Due Diligence, just much more expensive to dirtle around with. The Thinking Cap's just 1 to play, 1 to equip. Basically all of our creatures are detectives. 11 of our 13. Yeah, there's 2 non-detectives in here. I'll keep the Thinking Cap in and we'll call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. Nice little blue-white detectives deck here. Not quite as aggressive as we want to get for the little tempo aggro gameplay where we don't have a lot of good 2-drops. We don't have any premium creatures for getting a wide board state like Inside Source or Dogwalker, but what we do have to make up for that is a lot of tempo plays. So for our 2-drop, we can just like counter their 2 or 3 mana play with Reasonable Doubt or one of our copies of No More Lies. We've also got tons of bounce here with 3 copies of Unauthorized Exit, and once we do start jamming things out, turn 3, 4, and onward, we've got a lot of evasive threats with 2 Cold Case Crackers, 3 Granite Witnesses. We're just going to fly over their board a bit and slow them down enough with counterspells, bounce, and stun cards like Out Cold to try to outrace them. So, pretty reasonable looking deck today. We'll have to see how it functions as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game 1. We desperately need to draw 1 land by turn 3, so we've got 2 coin flips in a row to get there. If we fail both the coin flips, we are going to have a problem. But if we don't, this hand is really good. All right, we failed the first coin flip, but we found a 2-mana play, which is good. We can No More Lies their first spell. Okay, they don't have a first spell, so that's a little awkward, but here we go. We hit land 3 right on time. Honestly, I don't think we need to make it to Alquist's sacrifice ability to get tons of value off of him. I mean, just attacking with a 3/3 Vigilance this early is going to be super good. Plus, of course, if they kill him, we're still up a card thanks to the clue that he provided us. So we're just going to jam him out and then jam out the Private Eye, start hitting for 4 a turn with Vigilance. Seems like a very good start to this game. Our opponent has 5 mana up already, and Aurelia, the Law Above, is the play. Another land would have been absolutely beautiful there. How does this work? When attack with 3 or more creatures, they draw a card. Attack with 5 or more, they deal 3. Okay, so I can just attack into her and fuss bother if they block. I could not attack with Private Eye, because if they block Private Eye, that's kind of annoying. But I was going to say, I don't think they would reasonably often want to block here. When I could just have, like, Audacious whatever to win the fight. Yeah, so they aren't going to block, which is great. Be the best scenario for us. I mean, this would be really, really good if we had top deck to land this turn to go Unauthorized Exit, No More Lies, but I can still just Unauthorized Exit when they move to combat. And we're still in a great spot doing that. Move to combat, Unauthorized Exit, and they just recast Aurelia main phase 2. That's not going to be very fun for them. Mill this, because we're looking for mana right now. Definitely not 6 mana plays. Gravestone Strider, 4 mana up afterward, locks it on Eavesdropper. Alright, so a couple creatures on the ground instead. Aurelia costs 5, they have 6 mana up, so if I hold up 2 mana, I can definitely No More Lies the Aurelia. And they can double block Alquist right now, so I think our best line is to make it so they cannot block well. By just giving unblockability and then just holding up the No More Lies. I think that's our best play, but maybe it's reasonable to just slam down a Granite Witness there or something. Face down card, you got it. Just a Nervous Gardener. Another face down card. So I'm going to have 5 mana up next turn. How likely am I to spend that 5 mana holding up some mana for No More Lies for Aurelia? Pretty unlikely. I think we should play a face down Granite Witness and flip it up to tap something next turn. So let's counter this, which was a Crocodile, not a bad counter. Yeah, 5 mana. That is Granite Witness time. Play this face down. That's going to allow us to flip it up and tap Aurelia next turn. I do have to attack in with somebody here to kill one of their creatures so they can't get the 3 creatures attacking trigger, but the 3 creatures attacking is just draw a card, which is fine. It's okay if they draw a card. So I'm going to not attack in right now. Okay, crack a clue. Trigger the Eavesdropper, make it a 4/4 Vigilance. Slam down the Aurelia, and this should get us there. They're tapped out. We can tap Aurelia to not take any damage, and then they don't have a flying blocker out. We can poke them with Granite Witness and cast Fuss to make that 5 damage for exact lethal. And that will be the play. And there we go. Start things off 1-0, heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2. So normally I only really mulligan like 6 landers or 1 landers, but I mean I have literally no threats, so I just counter their first spell and then sit here. That feels like I'm supposed to mulligan? Eh, whatever. I'm feeling weird today. Let's just top deck all of our creatures. Let's just draw perfectly. There we go. Now I have a threat. Two mana, Innocent Bystander, you got it. Because I don't have a, well, shoot. I was gonna say I don't have a 3 mana play anyway, so I'll just No More Lies turn 3. Private Eye, that's good enough to not hold up No More Eyes. No More Lies. Oh my god, I'm making weird puns. Just accidentally. Rune Brand Juggler, give the Bystander Menace to get in. That means no blocks for Private Eye, unless they have Felonious Rage. In which case I just No More Lies or I Auspicious Arrival. Either way, it's going to be pretty terrible for my opponent. And if they don't have that, then we just play a 4-mana 3/3 flyer and be pretty happy. Actually, a 4/4 flyer, as long as Private Eye is still around. They've got something for 1 red mana. They either have Felonious Rage or Shock. Could be Shock there, but they don't want a 2-for-1 trade into Private Eye. Felonious Rage, I think they might have just done, because that would give +2/+0, and when it dies, they get a 2/2, so I'm not going to block here, because then... Well... No, because I think they would have blocked Private Eye and cast Felonious Rage. And if they have Felonious Rage here, we still get rid of the Juggler, which is still something. I mean, I've got Out Cold and a Combat Trick here, and that's all I get to do next turn is just Interactive Instance. Yeah, no. Probably shouldn't block here without open mana when everything in my hand is a way to interact with them trying to do combat tricky nonsense. Okay, Granite Witness is a pretty sick draw. They have no good blocks here, so send in. Now I can drop a Granite Witness. I can No More Lies if they play something really deadly, main phase 1. If they don't, if they just move to combat, I can Granite Witness down a blocker, and then Out Cold the rest of their board and kill them next turn. Honestly, at 14 life, I should probably just let them attack however they want and then surprise tap something main phase 2, or during their end step, because I can tap 3 of their creatures. 2 during their end step, or sorry, 1 during their end step and 2 during our turn to find lethal. So let's just do that. We'll let them attack however they want, and if they attack just with 2 creatures, they're dead. Attack with 2 creatures, I can tap their entire board and then kill them. Oh wow, now I can tap their whole board without even flipping up the granite thing. Okay, if this is shock, how do I lose? I can't. Because when I flip this up, this is 3 toughness. My board is 4 toughness, 3 toughness, 3 toughness. They literally can't win with a shock if I don't block here, but if I do block, they could shock and finish this off. Or they could just trade, and either way they might win. So I just don't block. There's nothing shock can do about it, because all my creatures are too big to be shocked for 1 red, and then they die. Like, yes, I could do fancy blocks here, but then I'm just putting myself at risk to not lethaling them next turn. Like, sure, I could untap Cold Case Cracker, block there, type stuff, but then they could shock the Cold Case Cracker and not die this turn, and it's a little better for them to just die this turn. Might as well, just in case their 1 red mana spell somehow keeps them alive. And here's lethal. All right, lethal it is. We are now 2-0 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3. Another weird looking hand, but I think that's just the theme of this deck, is weird looking hands. We'll just keep it here. All right, mirror match it is. Turn 1 thinking cap means it's quite likely that turn 2 they're going to play an island and be on blue-white detectives. All right, maybe they just haven't drawn the island yet. Unyielding Gatekeeper, 2 mana, 3/2. Oh no, they didn't. They missed a land drop. Surveil here. Ooh, now I've got a great 5 mana play. They've missed another land drop? Oh yeah, they have. Well, that is not good for our opponent. Trade here is just bad for me, so we just drop the Case Cracker and pass the turn. I could also bounce and hold up No More Lies, but I could also put the cap on. Hold up No More Lies or the bounce. All of these are fine, but I really like playing Cold Case Cracker into the Vigilante curve, potentially, when my opponent probably can't do much. They're going to have 3 mana maximum next turn. Alright, there's their blue source, and it surveils for them. They keep the next card on top, so they probably have the next land there, and boom! There's Vigilante mana. It doesn't matter if I do this pre-combat, I still don't attack on the ground. So we'll do it post-combat. And then this, probably, hopefully enough stumbling from our opponent to just tempo them out for the rest, bouncing and countering anything that matters. Case File Auditor doesn't matter too much. And they missed no enchantments in their top 6, but they've got a super beefy blocker on the ground, so at least no Vigilante damage to them. Still got great mana to flip up the Witness and hit for a bunch in the sky, holding up both Unauthorized Exit and No More Lies. The one slightly awkward part about this is that it reveals that I've got 4 mana worth of instants in hand because I'm not equipping the cap. Otherwise, you would just always equip the cap. But it doesn't matter. Our opponent just stumbled on mana too long. They know they don't have anything in their hand good enough to stop this aggro. So they're just going to end the game right there. And we are 3-0 heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. Our opponent's on the play here, but I love this hand. Private Eye into Granite Witness, turn 3, turn 4, maybe? Maybe Crime Stopper Sprite. Somewhere in there. Playing against a black deck with a turn 2 Homicide Investigator, so whenever we're killing any of their creatures, they are investigating and getting clue tokens, which is pretty great value. Doesn't trigger on any of their token creatures, but that probably doesn't matter. Black doesn't have a ton of tokens in the format. Steam Core Scholar is a very good card. Even if we deal with the Flying Body, it has already gotten them card advantage, drawing 2 and discarding 1 when they play it. And discarding a card with a graveyard ability like Leering Onlooker is nasty. Incredible stuff from their rare. Steam Core Scholar putting in work here. And there's the cheap little murder for the Private Eye. RIP. Take 4, go to 14. Granite Witness is not big enough to just block the Scholar here. If I play a Crime Stopper Sprite and get a Vigilante counter on it, that'll work. Or if I get a Vigilante counter on the Witness. These all kind of match up kind of awkwardly, because I can't put the Vigilante counter onto the Witness unless it's face down, and then it's going to take more time to flip it up. And I don't have the evidence in my grave to stun something this turn. Unauthorized exiting something with a draw cards enter the battlefield effect is terrible. This is real awkward, but I think I have to just face down here. Still still definitely have a shot if we hit our mana perfectly and get to the Investigators. Investigators turn 6 is going to be a big swing on the defensive. Okay, there's a Gravestone Strider. Luckily that doesn't really do anything. Okay, now I can take the time to Crime Stopper sprites, since it is stunning, and I get to hold the unauthorized exit up, and then I get to play Vigilante next turn to have a 3/3 blocker in the sky and a 4/4 blocker on the ground. Unless they have more removal, that is a stable board state from there. And they're just going to pass turn, sure. Well, 6 mana up is awkward. I imagine they're just making flyers, but if it is a counterspell here, we're going to get got. I think Face Down Granite Witness plays around the counterspell, but I don't think it's that likely that they have it. And it's counter unless you pay 2 at common. That is the counterspell of the format. They've got perfect mana to do this and that. I guess the counter unless you pay 2 can't counter the Witness, so we'll see. Just untap the Crime Stopper sprite for blocks, or I just tap down the Scholar here when they move to combat. I think I'd rather untap on blocks and kill both of their bats for free. Maybe not for free, they could have a combat trick or something. Yeah, we want to kill the flyers, and by killing these, they don't investigate at all. Getting real low here, down to 5. And black does have some life drain in the format. Alright, there's an Accusation. Walk the Witness down, there's a Cold Case Cracker. Didn't find the Investigator's mana, that'd have been pretty big here. Okay, if I Vigilante, I've got a 4/4 and a 3/3, 4/4 blocks there, 3/3 blocks there, we take 4. Oh, we're getting real close to dead. I think that's the best we have, though, because then land 6 gives us Cold Case Cracker plus Hold Up Unauthorized Exit, which is really good. They could always just top deck into almost anything and beat us here, and this attack is still pretty good for them. They get 2 clue tokens if I take the trade here. Oh boy. I'll go to 2. Then there is the mana, which is really good. Mana gives me Cold Case Cracker, Hold Up Unauthorized Exit. 2 blockers and exit up is enough to survive. What could be holding for them here? Probably an instant? Oh my god, yeah, their last card's probably an instant, which means I don't get to attack at all. I don't think the Strider holds when you don't need the mana of any color, but maybe it does. Well, that's really bad. Even if they don't stun, that's still a huge deal. Attack for lethal on board. Here's going to be a big turn for us. Kill the Investigator and the Scholar. Bounce the Cold Case Cracker. They get 1 clue. Surveil into Alquist. One, 2/2 flyer on attacks next turn. I guess I do have time for that. I'll have 2 3/3 flying blockers. And if we can get that ability for all that life gain, that can be a huge way to come back. that life gain is going to be incredibly necessary, so we have to just drop Alquist here. 3 on board. They're playing off the top, but they'll have 2 draws to try to get there. And if I attack at all, 1 removal spell kills me, so I think I keep myself alive by just not attacking. Well, no, that's not true. 3 blockers and 1 unauthorized exit means I'm not dead to 1 removal spell if I attack with 1 creature. Yeah, I guess I do send in the Vigilante then. If they double block, then we bounce here. Cool. Okay. Crack the clue. There is the 1 removal spell. Long goodbye the Crime Stopper sprite. Opponent's going to be really mad. Let's kill the sprite for free. Bounce the Cold Case Cracker. Find Projector Inspector. White, blue, blue, X. Blue, blue, white. 1, 2, 3. Gain 3, draw 3. I just want lands, honestly. I'm just going to use that next turn to give myself the life pocket I need to not die. There we go. That's the land we're looking for. This is instant speed. Blue, blue, white. We've got 4 now, so gain 4, draw 4. It's pretty huge. Shump. I could bounce Cold Case Cracker here. Feels way safer to keep the life gain on board, though. Keep that life gain mana up. Maybe I'm supposed to do that during my turn to play around instant speed life loss. I don't think there's a lot of that in the set, but if they have something that's just like target opponent loses a life in black, then I could be very dead here. If they don't, though, then we just win. Just straight up win at this point. Yep, there's the concession from our opponent, because now we've got 2 clues, which means we gain 4, draw 4, play 1,000,000 blockers, and if we take any more damage, get any more lower, we do it all again with Alquist. Really nasty stuff there. Huge recovery, and we are now 4-0 heading into Game 5. Here we are on the play for Game 5. Witness into a Vigilante for our finishers. The Out Cold to outrace our opponent, and the No More Lies to counter their 2-drop, give us something to do early. We could even No More Lies turn 4, actually, because I don't have really a 4-mana play here, other than just flipping up the Witness. And if I wait to flip up the Witness till I play the Vigilante, I get a counter onto that, which is very nice. Our opponent takes a mulligan. Got some pretty beautiful sleeves over there. And here we go. They are a green deck with a turn 1 Hedge Whisperer, which can collect evidence to make a 5/5, which is pretty gross. Ooh, now we've got an Alquist here. Probably lead with that. Again, 3/3 Vigilance that early is really good. And even if they kill Alquist, we are up in value in that interaction, thanks to the clue token. Obviously, we've seen Alquist can really just win the game at the end, but Alquist is still a great threat early, and it's not that big of a deal if Alquist gets killed, thanks to giving you the clue for value no matter what. Part of why that card is so good, we've seen it play incredibly on the aggressive and incredibly as a finisher in the late game too. Well, by Projector Inspector instead, I can try to find land 4. I don't even know what I'm discarding to do that, though. Just Out Cold or No More Lies, because I won't have the mana up for a while to hold that. Projector Inspector still attacks in just as well as Alquist, and then I get multiple triggers off of Inspector this way. I guess, no, that's not true, because if they play a single disguise card, it's going to be a face-down 2/2 Ward 2, and then Inspector doesn't attack well anymore. Alquist still attacks into a 2/2. Inspector would just end up trading into it, and it might be like a big disguise card that's enough evidence for the Hedge Whisperer to make a 5/5, so Inspector could get just traded off real quick here. It's a lot harder for Alquist to trade off, because there's way more just 3-mana 2/2 disguise cards than there are like 3-mana 3/2s. There still are 3-mana 3/2s, just certainly less common. Alright, there we go. Really happy to have played Alquist instead of the Inspector here, so we do just jam in for 3 for free. Then we're going to play Inspector here to look for land 4. Alternatively, I could crack the Clue to do it, but that'll be pretty bad if I don't hit land 4. If I play Inspector and I don't hit land 4, that's fine. I still got a 3/2 onto the board, but if I crack the Clue and I don't hit land 4, I'm doing nothing else with the rest of my mana. Even if No More Lies held up after cracking a Clue would be kind of sweet. We don't know that we're hitting the land to do that. Alright, well, we did hit the land to do that, so that's slightly sad. I think we're going full aggression here and just not holding up the counterspell. I'm going to ditch No More Lies. I think it's just going to be hard to fit that into the curve from this point onward. Got a lot of great threats, a lot of ways to buff the board, tap their board down. Just going for damage here. So Loxodon Eavesdropper. Alright, Out Cold looking pretty sweet on this board. Do I do that this early? They're at 17. I could crack the Clue and use Unauthorized Exit here. And then Alquist still attacks in. They have to recast Eavesdropper next turn. They get good value, but we're trying to tempo them out and kill them before they have time to sack all their clues anyway. I could also just like attack here, and then if they try to kill Alquist with just a single 3/3, then I fuss, and if they double block, I Unauthorized Exit. You know what, I can just attack here with these tricks. And if they play around all the tricks, then I just get to keep playing creatures, which is awesome. Alright, well this is going to be devastating. Nope. Play around all the tricks? Yeah, see, this just works great either way. Like, if they don't play around the tricks, then I fuss, bother, keep my board, and wipe theirs. If they do play around the tricks, then I just get to keep curving out, which is still awesome. I'm just going to play this face up. Do find land 5. That is interesting to me. I think I'm going to be out colding rather than exiting, so we'll ditch that to play land 5. Alright, analyze the pollen, grab whatever basic they need, and it is a swamp. Crack the Clue, that's going to give them a nice little Vigilant Eavesdropper attack that we won't be blocking. Send in the 2/2 face down as well. I'm not going to block that either. They're down to 14. 9 damage if I just out cold here, and I can out cold and crack the Clue. I don't mind that at all. They are down to 2. They need something insane to recover at this point. Board wipe works, but I've got 2 clue tokens still, which is great. And bother is perfect after a board wipe. Alright. Yeah, we definitely didn't overextend here. We've still got plenty to get 2 more damage in over time. Just don't have any haste or anything. Let's go for the widest board state possible, casting Bother here and setting up our future draws. Not really interested in those top decks. Playing the land so that I can get to the point where I can crack this Clue and still spend like 5 mana on Vigilante. There's the concession. They just can't get around the 3/1/1 flyers from Bother, really showing off the power, the flexibility of that card. Would have been an insane trick for us early when they went for the double block, and it was an incredible way to reestablish a board state post-board wipe, so excellent stuff from Fuss Bother, and excellent stuff from Alquist as always. We are now 4-0. 5-0. Oh my god, we just went all the way straight into the money real quick this draft. No matter what happens from here, we are up in gems, but we'll see how far we can keep it going as we head into game number 6. Mono blue hand this time around, but the inspector can do some digging, swap an island out for plains if we draw one. Just draw plains, discard island, seems good to me. Our opponent's on the play, so our reasonable doubt is definitely going to counter our disguise card turn 3, on average. And we're just going to slam that down the second they cast anything. Because turn 3, we're spending all our mana on Inspector. Turn 4, we're spending it all on Cold Case Cracker. Now we've got a great card to discard. One of our most filler cards in the deck. Ditch the Sanctuary Wall to the Inspector. I'm just going to pass right on through. Interesting, so they just want to play around Reasonable Doubt here, or they just don't have a play yet. I kind of think I have to just project our Inspector here, and then next turn I get to play the wall and hold up the Reasonable Doubt, so that's something. Granite Witness is pretty sweet. I'll ditch the land here. We can redraw land off Inspector if it sticks around long enough. Ditch a non-land for a land later when we've got more options. Tristani. Alright. Definitely have solid tempo plays to slow that thing down. Problem is it can get anything double strike for 3. Yeah, it doesn't have to be itself, so even if we stun it, they can give their other stuff double strike and just go to town. Okay, that is a huge problem. We've got 3 bounce spells that are going to be pretty necessary here. What do I even do? Like, I hardly outrace this thing. I mean, if I out cold, I will, but I need more creatures on board before out cold is going to do any outracing. Let's get more creatures on board, then. Take a chunk of damage for now. There's unauthorized exit. Perfect. Ditch the Sanctuary Wall. I can cast this and hold up Reasonable Doubt. I mean, they're going to have enough mana, though, to just pay for it. Still definitely a really good draw. It's going to time walk them, make them skip a turn. Alright, if they want to dump mana into damaging me, you got it. Just hit me for 8. And they do not. They're going to hit me for 4. Aftermath Analyst, mill 3. Cool. Inspector with the evidence is not cool. Actually very annoying. Is that annoying enough to out-cold this turn? Be much more mana efficient, play a face-down Witness, hold up unauthorized exit. Or Reasonable Doubt. And I could play the Witness and then just flip it up, tap the Inspector to jam in. $16 life. They hit me for like 8 double strike with Tristani next turn. If they go really hard. And they only have 4 mana, so that would involve spending most of their mana just to do that. I think I'm going to go all in. Do the most mana efficient play we have. Just get damage in. Private Eye. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. Private Eye hold up exit or Private Eye hold up doubt. I guess I get rid of Cold Case Cracker at this point. So weird, but I think I do. And we're gonna have 4 threats on board if they don't deal with one. Opponent goes to 16. I stand by not holding up the reasonable doubt turn 3, but the fact that they've been stuck from 5 mana for so long means they never would have resolved this Tristani if we did hold this up. They're double bombing us. Axebane Ferox. That probably gets us haste out of the green deck. Goes a real long way. Out cold plus unauthorized exit into Private Eye next turn could do a lot of work for us. What is this ward? Collect evidence 4. I've got that. Got the 4 evidence. And if I out cold it instead of unauthorized exit it, I don't have to pay the ward anyway. Okay. Make sure we actually get in here. They're down to 10. They try to cast something to kill us, we counter it. They try to double strike Tristani to kill us, we bounce it. We try to kill them on the crackback. It's a plan. No blocks. No abilities. Go to 4. They spend too much mana on a blocker here. We counter the blocker, then bounce the tipster. And then, of course, play a Private Eye to be at 12 damage to them. We do have to hit them with every single one of our creatures. So we're going to need it to be an expensive enough creature that we can counter it with reasonable doubt. And then we're going to need the unauthorized exit on the tipster as well for them to have no blockers up. Alternatively, we can use Private Eye's ability to make the Inspector unblockable, and we just clear out the flying and reach blockers and win that way. That works too. Then we just get past the tipster. So let's focus on that. Let's just make sure they're not going to have any flying or reach blockers, and then we'll win. If they have instant speed removal, it needs to be expensive enough. Oh, okay, well, we win. I was going to say, if they have instant speed removal, it needs to be expensive enough that reasonable doubt can counter it. If it's sorcery speed removal, then boom, they have nothing. We Private Eye and kill them. All right. Another really close nail biter here, but blue-white detective tempo gets those tempo swings and finds the kill. It's going to be 12 damage. We're going to be 6-0 now, heading into the final boss with 3 rounds in the chamber here. Here we are for the final boss. Awkward hand combat trick with just a sanctuary wall. I'm still going to keep here. That has been the theme of the draft, is just keep the weird looking hands, and it's worked out so far. We're still undefeated. Our opponent is on the play with the turn 2 red herring. I'd rather counter their 3-drop or basically counter the red herring. I guess I know that I'm countering the red herring here. I just block it forever. Whereas if I just hold up the reasonable doubt, they might not have a 3-mana play. They probably do, but they might not. It's always a possibility they don't get to curve out. They do have the 3-drop play. Well, we're hanging out, blocking all day long. Just stop 2 damage a turn. I don't think I should Auspicious Arrival against 3 open mana. Because then if they have their own like unauthorized exit to bounce the wall, they completely counter this. I don't get my clue. I don't kill their creature or anything. You're just gonna shock. Alright, play a face down. Alright, yeah, I mean we just counter that. The way our hand is looking here. Alright, counter to Gadget Technician, not bad. Okay. Land 7 is the draw. With draws like these, I kind of feel like there's no option really but to actually try to kill the thing here. Still works miserably if it doesn't work out, but there is nothing else we can do. Oh, wow, that is the actual worst possible card for us. They don't even have to spend a spell to ruin that. Gross. All right, well, I do really need to surveil into plays, and there we go. Granite Witness is fine. That is a play. No need to tap something here. The Sanctuary Wall still blocks the Exit Specialist all day. So I will spend all my mana on that. Kagic Technician. Definitely annoying. Well, 3/2 Flying Vigilance attacks in and holds their Thopter off. You could tap a creature, then untap the Sanctuary Wall, but that doesn't really accomplish anything. Yeah, no, I mean, we just pre-combat, it doesn't matter. Like, I guess I could have done the stun counter thing and then removed a stun counter from Sanctuary Wall. Maybe there's something to that. Alright, that's not terrible. You can still recast it. However, I have way too few creatures here. We are just flooding out something fierce. It's 4 creatures on their board. Stop 3 a turn. That is not very good here. I can't even equip it right now because it's going to be 2 to equip unless I flip this up right now, and it's definitely better to flip up on blocks so we actually tap something with it. I guess I can at least play it to get that out of the way. The initial 1 mana. There's the Galvanize. That's all spells from them and all lands from me. That is that game yet? Block 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's probably game. If this is anything more than 2, then it is, and we're dead. Or if they just have removal. Yeah. All right. Well, no. Hold up. I still go to 1. On board. Okay, yeah, that's definitely game. Not much to say there. The awkward, kind of funky looking opening hands finally caught up to us and just supremely flood out. Not too much of a game of Magic there. We are 6-1 heading into game 8. Here we are for game 8 on the draw again. No More Lies into Alquist. Or Unauthorized Exit into Alquist, either way. Pretty good start. Definitely keep this one. Well, this isn't fair. Our opponent has Platinum Angel, so they can't lose the game and we can't win the game. I think that's cheating. To have Platinum Angel right off the bat. Surveil Mill, a red card and a blue card. So this is the 5-color green pile, which is a pretty great deck if you aren't getting aggroed out. We are on the draw rather than on the play, so our deck that doesn't really start till turn 3 isn't going to look that aggressive here. So they've got all the time in the world to set their mana up and get to their wild splashes. Okay. I mean, we've got plenty of time to get things started as well, but they're likely to have a much scarier end game than us when they're splashing around like this. Land Cycle, a Topiary Panther, no value from No More Lies or Unauthorized Exit. I don't think either of those spells looks very good here. You find a black source and drop it down. There's a second No More Lies. Gotta wait till turn 5 to where I can play a spell and hold that up. Like, I guess turn 4 I can do Exit plus No More Lies, but be playing creatures here. I think we're still always going to Alquist first. The problem is they could have the just make me sack a creature thing. I'm not that into it. Honestly, this matchup, I think it's fine to not start with Alquist. Because their board's already plenty cluttered. Alquist is just going to put creatures in their grave that they want in their grave, like Rebel Belt Maverick. Like, it's not going to get any damage in. I'm just putting it at risk of dying quicker. Brawl Whipcracker, play a Public Thoroughfare. They've got perfect mana, 2 cards in hand, and once again, something very specific to this matchup. I'm just holding up double No More Lies. They have the mana to play almost anything in the set. I can't really let them resolve stuff from here on, because there could be some really disastrous cards like Niv Mizzet. Now, if they play something that doesn't matter that much, we can just bounce it. If they play something that does, we'll counter it. If they don't play anything, happy to play an Alquist and hold up No More Lies next turn. Perfect mana to do that. And just start trying to kill them with Granite Witness. Gadget Technician. Okay, that doesn't matter enough. Kill it. Does matter a bit. It's getting damage in for sure. But we still need to hold the counter for something else. In case of emergency, kind of thing. It's actually like right on that borderline. Like, it's good enough that I'm not a fan of it resolving. Oh no. They play a white permanent, then one of their creatures gets flying double strike vigilance every turn. Can't imagine that I can let that one slide. Yeah. Alright. Technician gets in. Whipcracker trades into Witness on blocks. Do I just trade into Technician here? I don't think so. Another Granite Witness. Alright. Well, that's spicy. Excuse me. Now I can trade into the Whipcracker and then still just have another flyer to kill them with over time. Yeah, come on in, technician. It's a race. Weirdly. They do not have the 3 mana for that, and Alquist is quite important here. But I could bounce my Alquist, replay it next turn, and still hold up No More Lies for their next card. Kind of tempting. Actually, if I crack the clue and we find land 6, I can Investigator's Alquist. Because they don't have double blue up yet. This could be them tricking me and they have the next blue in their hand. But I can respond to that ability by then exiting Alquist, so I'm gonna let it happen. Let's see. Okay. It's not an untapped blue source. Cool. So they do have to do the shuffle in thing. If they don't do the shuffle in thing, I can just untap Alquist and keep playing around with them. I think I'm gonna crack the clue and try to hit land 6. Come on, land 6, come on. There we go. That is beautiful. And now I've got a 4/4 blocker for the 3/2. The only problem is I give them 1 turn to cast whatever they want. But that felt like pretty good value. And if whatever they cast is just like a big creature, I can bounce it and then counter it still. Alright, yep. Get poked for 1. And there we go. We are back to holding up counters for the rest of all time. To the point where I don't even know if I'm casting Alquist rather than starting to chip in with Witness. I think I would rather just start to chip in with Witness. I think the double block trade for Technician, or trade for Investigators, isn't that bad for me, and I could blow it up with Unauthorized Exit, so I will send both in and untap Investigators. Okay, Trump it is. Oh, they actually do have a lot of lands engraved. That's kind of sick. Oh, that gets around our counter spells. I might have to hold up both so I can counter unless they pay 5. Can I afford to do that? I can block there, take 1 if I counter whatever they do. Sure. Yeah, they have 8 mana. Projector Inspector's fine. Evidence Examiner is certainly less fine. They do have the mana to pay for it at the beginning. Yeah, they have the mana to pay for it. If I counter with just 1 here, I'd have to double counter this. That is so much evidence in their grave, though. There's so much investigating to go on. What if I full control and then bounce it? And we can counter it when they recast. If they try to recast this turn. Okay, I do actually like more mana. I am all about the mana this game. If they don't try to recast it, we can just crack a clue. Because Alquist comes with a clue we can use for Alquist's ability. Okay, Reasonable Doubt is the smaller counter spell, so we use that one and save the counter for 3 for later. I don't think I want to stop my creature's ability to block. As much as Menace would be nice, making it so it can't block would be pretty bad. Okay. Perfect mana for Vigilante, hold up no more lies. I don't think Vigilante's super great on this board though, so let's just Alquist. Instead, they have to trade 2 3/2s into 1 4/4. The way their board is set up right now, so sending everybody. They're down to 7. They're down to 7. It's going to be a very close game, whichever way it goes. And again, I think we're just dying if they have a Mega Bomb. But they've got the mana to pay for any Mega Bombs. Pay for the 3. Detective Satchel is real good. If I no more lies it, they only have 1 mana untapped afterwards, so they can't sack a clue this turn without playing another land, so that stops them from getting the 1/1 Thopter. For now, for this turn. That's probably fine, right? Like, we could try to just outgrind Detective Satchel with Alquist, if they don't do anything to Alquist. Yeah, we've got gain 4, draw 4 right now. Just completely unreasonable. Block with a 3/2 and a 1/1 to kill the Investigators. Block with 2 1/1 Thopters to kill Witness, and then they only have 1 more Thopter off of a clue for Satchel. I think this is fine when we're going to gain 4, draw 4. Well, they don't do Satchel things. Interesting. Yeah, sure. We'll do that. I still want the ability to block. So I'm going to wait to Alquist till their turn. Plus I get to hold up no more lies this way. In case of weird shenanigans. Alright, there's the Thopter. Dramatic Accusation. This is my last opportunity to use Alquist then. So we use Alquist. They can pave the 3 and still shuffle Alquist back, so let's just do this. There's Out Cold, probably the best draw we could hit here. That is huge. When they're down to 4, it's a fantastic tempo play. Drawn to Fuss Bother too. God, this is so good. I can get rid of 3 blockers this turn. So let's try this way. Let's try Unauthorized Exit the 2/2 Thopter. Send in with Granite Witness. And if they attempt to make another Thopter to go for the double block on Granite Witness, we can Out Cold then kill them with Auspicious Arrival. I think that seems very solid. Because this is going to make them really tempted to crack a clue, make a Thopter, go for a double block. But I can respond to them putting another creature on this board by tapping both. Bazinga. Now is their chance to show me instant speed removal or a counterspell. If they don't, they are dead. Even if they do have the instant speed removal or the counter, we have a full grip, 5 cards here. Try to take over time. They've got a single 3/2 and 2 stunned creatures. Repulsive Mutation. Alright, that is the counterspell, so they go to 1. Start cracking their lands that are clues. And digging for some flying blockers or some clue token producers to get flying blockers. or some removal. There's actually a lot of things they could have. Oh, wow. Never mind. These are artifact lands. I forgot about that. So that is sacking an artifact and giving them the chump blocker they need. We'll see if they can get past an unblockable creature thanks to Private Eye. But if they can, they've got another turn here. Topiary Panther. All right, only 1 mana up. 2 mana up. Okay, cool. We should be good. We've got a counterspell up here. That's counter unless they pay 3. If they try to kill Granite Witness, we counter it and they just die. Because here's an unblockable detective. All right. Well, that was really well fought from our opponent, honestly, because our deck was really like doing the tempo thing. Like it was grinding it out well with multiple counterspells, bounce tappers, stuff like that. Like it was firing on all cylinders. And that was still a tremendously close game where they didn't even really cast any bombs, honestly. And I imagine being the 5-color deck over there, or the 4-color deck, I don't see any white. They had to have some really explosive cards in there somewhere, so really lucky those got stuck in the bottom 12. But still a really good showing from the deck overall. I mean, that was some impressive tempo-y shenanigans, taps and stuns and bounces and counters, and really nice run through this draft as a whole. This was a huge overperformer of a deck. I'm definitely a lot more used to the white aggro side of things. I mean, everybody knows how good white aggro is in this format by now, all of the ways to provide multiple creature tokens off of your cards and just get a super wide board state. So I've played several blue-white detective decks before. We've had a couple on the channel, but they've been a little more white focused with novice inspectors and inside sources and stuff. So this was still kind of a different blue-white detectives deck with a much deeper focus on the blue, because I don't think white was really open in our draft pod basically at all. Like our only white cards here, our only good white cards are the blue-white cards. The ones that require blue as well. So like Sanctuary Wall, Vigilante, Auspicious Arrival. This one's pretty bad, Sanctuary Wall, but Vigilante and Auspicious Arrival are like solid filler. They're on the good end of filler, but that's it. That's the best white we have in the deck. So I think white was pretty competitive in the draft pot. I guess there was Fuss Bothers. Well, that is mono white. This card is insane. This is the actual best white card in our deck. But yeah, overall, it's a bunch of blue flyers and tempo plays, the out cold, the triple bounce from unauthorized exit. I didn't think I was going to want more than 2, but they played real well. I was perfectly happy with them. The reasonable doubt for that 2-mana counterspell. We had a distinct lack of 2-mana creatures, but really made up for that with 3 2-mana counterspells and 3 2-mana bounce spells. Thinking Cap was probably the biggest underperformer. I don't think it did anything the whole time. The one time it showed up was when we were flooded, so we didn't have a lot of creatures, so drawing an equipment when we don't have a lot of creatures, pretty dang bad. We needed a wider board state, not a bigger creature. So Thinking Cap was a really bad showing for that card. It never worked. Never did anything good for us. And we are a 13 creature deck, so with that low, maybe you just don't want to play equipment at all. For the biggest overperformer, what do we say? I mean, Out Cold was great. Granite Witness was great. Cold Case Cracker was great. Private Eye, Alquist. Everything was pretty awesome. But we also thought it was all going to be pretty awesome, so I wouldn't call anything a huge overperformer outside of maybe the unauthorized exit, because again, most of the time, I think I would only really want 2 copies, but this is the kind of deck that can use 3 pretty well. And it's not really an overperformer in that it ever did anything super insane, but it was consistently decent at the mana cost, which is important when we didn't have that much stuff to do at that mana cost. So again, it's not like the craziest card in the deck or anything. It didn't do too much, but just giving us something to do pretty consistently was important to get us going early in the game. So I guess biggest underperformer, Thinking Cap, biggest overperformer, unauthorized exit, but for the most part, everything in the deck worked about how we thought it would. And well, I mean, the individually powerful cards worked as well as we thought we would. The deck as a whole, not counting cards individually, is a massive overperformer. Was not expecting a 7 winner here, but we really got there. I mean, Alquist was completely insane. We knew that going in. It was a huge reason to try to force our way into blue-white detectives. We kind of did, and it didn't matter. Didn't matter that white wasn't that open, because blue was more than open enough to make up for it, and our tempo detective shenanigans takes it, gets us all the way to 7-1, a fantastic run today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.